Welcome everyone to We Fix Everything. Today, we're going to be tackling the most common issues with garbage disposals, including replacement. Let's see what tools we need. Extended reach, needle nose pliers. Long reach flathead. Slip joint pliers. Flashlight, always handy. Multi-screwdriver. Next up, disposal jam tool or 1/4 inch Allen key. You're going to need one of them in your loadout. Always a good idea to bring a couple of rags, just in case. And last but not least, a 2-gallon water bucket, just in case you have to deal with any leaks. Before we get started, run some water, inspect underneath the cabinet. If you see any water leaking out of the bottom of the disposal at any point, you got a bad seal. This is irreparable. Go get a new one. You'll need to replace it, and we'll show you how to do that later in the video. When first diagnosing a disposal, we want to know if the water is draining properly. Run some water. If the water starts standing, you know you got a clog. It's going to be in the disposal or in the drain line. We'll get to that later in the video. Next, we want to determine if we're getting power and what happens when we do. We're going to give it a quick flick and then back off. What we just heard, in this instance, we call a hummer. It's humming. That tells us that the motor is trying to engage, but it can't. It can't because something's lodged in there. It could be aquarium rocks, could be a rag, who knows. So we're going to take our 1/4 inch Allen key and we're going to insert it into the access port at the bottom in the center of the disposal. Once inserted, we can jiggle it and see if we're getting resistance. If it doesn't spin freely, then we got a jam, which we already knew. So in this case, you want to apply some force and see if you can break it free. If you can't break it free at this point, this is where you want to pull the flathead out. This is so you don't pull the disposal out while you're working. So you're going to stick this up here in one of these slots and you're going to hold the disposal against the sink basket body and then rotate back and forth more aggressively until you break it free. Now we're free, we're spinning free, we're good to go. Except we want to get whatever that is out. Not every garbage disposal is going to have access on the bottom for the Allen key. In those cases, you're going to need a disposal jam key. This tool is inserted inside and used to break it free. Before we stick anything in here, we want to make sure it's de-energized. Don't want to get zapped. If it's hardwired, check your breaker. If it's plugged in, unplug it, then move forward. Now that we know we've de-energized the system and it's not going to run while we're working in there, we're going to use the jam tool to break it free. Turn the feet slightly, place inside, push down. Once both feet make contact with the bottom plate, rotate left and right until the motor spins freely. Now that we know the motor's spinning freely, let's dig in here and find out what kind of treasure we got. Flashlight, extended reach, needle nose. Seen everything from aquarium rocks, shot glasses, you name it. In this case, it's just a small Phillips head screw. Once we're confident we've removed all the debris from the disposal, let's give her a test run. Run the disposal and the sink simultaneously for about 30 seconds. Make sure you don't hear anything else rattling around in there, and make sure you don't have any water pooling up. If not, you just fixed the garbage disposal jam. Congrats. Now that we've dealt with the humming motor, there's the question of what if you hit the switch and nothing happens? Well, that's going to be an indication that the breaker inside the disposal has been tripped. You're going to need to reset it before moving forward. To reset the internal breaker on the disposal, simply go underneath and inspect. You'll see a little red button. Press it. This has happened because the motor has been trying to run with a jam. This causes the high limit internal switch to go off and trigger the breaker. It's a safety feature. In the beginning, we talked about the potential for a clog. This can occur in the disposal or in the drain line. Let's remedy that problem. So in the event that we do have a clog and we got standing water in the sink particularly, we're going to place a bucket underneath to catch any water while we're doing our inspection. Firstly, we got the garbage disposal, of course, the garbage disposal outlet. This is called the outlet T, P-trap, tailpiece, and drain stub out. If you have a powerful enough flashlight, you might could skip a lot of this by just shining up in there and you can inspect inside the pipe See if you have any debris. We're looking good in this situation. There's a little bit of accumulated whatnot in there, but it looks pretty good at a glance. Well, let's say we still got a clog. So the first likely culprit is going to be the outlet T. So we're going to remove this lock nut, pop this off by taking a little pressure and turning it back towards you. And generally it will separate like that. And the garbage disposal will rotate. And now we can peer inside. This baffle here creates a lot of clogs because of the way it's designed. At this point, if we don't see anything in here, we can take our flashlight and shine inside here and take a look. We can see all the way back into the body of the disposal. In this instance, I don't see anything. So I'll just leave it open for now. And we'll disconnect and drop the P-trap. This will be our next likely culprit. Gonna be some water, of course. That's why we got our bucket. And just dump that out. Inspect our P-trap. Looking pretty good. No clog there. So to recap, now we've checked our garbage disposal drain outlet, we've checked the outlet T, and we've checked the P-trap. No clogs. The last culprit is going to be here in the tailpiece leading back to the drain stub out. Loosen the lock nut, and we can pop this guy off. You may have some water coming out of here if you've got a bad clog. Keep the bucket handy. Now I can peer inside here if I'd like with my flashlight. I can see in this instance it's clear. This is going to indicate that we have a downstream clog. This is going to require an auger and possibly other tools and materials. Refer to our other video on how to clear a downstream clog. So in the event that the disposal is bad, we're going to go ahead and change this guy out. Step one is going to be removing the dishwasher drain line. I like to use a pair of 6 or 8 inch channel locks. Sometimes you got to give it a wiggle. Try to keep it supported up so you don't dump a bunch of potentially nasty water in here. Take our trusty Klein multi-driver, and you got the 7/16 nut driver on here. Pop these two guys off. Just loosen them up. You can generally just take them the rest of the way out by hand. These are also threaded for straight head screwdriver. So if you don't have the nut driver, use a regular flathead. Drop those down here. Then I'm going to slightly rotate this out of my way. Unplug the disposal where applicable. It may be hardwired. In that case, you want to make sure you shut your power off. De-energize everything. Now that we're disconnected everywhere, we're de-energized, we're going to remove this disposal. I use a normal quarter inch hex. Put into this slot here. I use a flathead to support my basket. I don't want to break the bond of the plumber's putty with the flange above and create another leak. I'm just going to gently rotate it just a little bit. At this point, you'll be able to just rotate it by hand, support the bottom so it doesn't drop. Since this disposal is fine, we're not going to take a new one out of the box. If you did, it's going to look exactly like this. What you will notice that comes in the box up top is going to be the sink flange and mounting ring. You're not going to use this 99% of the time. So the only time you'd be replacing this is if you have a leak up here, and that's a completely different installation video you can reference at another time. So for installation, you're going to notice I'll use this as reference. See how this is angled down? These little hooks right here are going to line up here, and as you rotate clockwise, it's going to rotate up onto the assembly here. So, support the bottom. I'm going to hand tight it. It's good and hand tight. Grab our flathead to support ourselves here. 1/4 inch hex and crank down. Get it good and snug. Once she's good and snug, we'll just reverse everything from before. So now that we've checked our mounting ring, we know it's good and tight. We got our dishwasher drain line reconnected with our clamp. We've been a tug test. Got our screws good and tight here to create a good seal with the O-ring. We're going to go back and check everything we worked on previously before. Make sure all these lock nuts are good and tight. We're going to re-energize the disposal. We're going to go up top. We're going to fire up the disposal, run some water, make sure we don't have any leaks. We're going to inspect down here with a flashlight while that water's running for at least a minute. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Really hope that helped you with any issues you have with your garbage disposal. Like and subscribe. We're trying to grow the channel. Appreciate it. See you next time.